Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Roosters on Owen Tangi here in Columbus. It's Lettermen Live, brought to you by Roosters, our weekly fun, casual conversation about the Buckeyes in a fun, casual joint. Thanks for joining us. Ohio State, in case you missed it, won 76-5. Schlegel, Mike Doss, Spencer Holbrook making his debut on Lettermen Live down here. Trying to remember, Doss asked me before we went on, who got the closest to the prediction. I had 63-0. What'd you have, Schlegel? A mouthful of mac and cheese bites.
They were so good.
Right.
I mean, I try to have a good diet, but if you put those in front of my face, I'm eating them. I had 66 to what did I have? 66-3.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I gave up 6 points, 2 field goals.
All right.
I don't know if it was 63 or 6, but
I'm just going to say that we all pretty much nailed it. We knew it was going to happen.
What'd you have?
56-7.
Gotcha.
Close.
Gave him a touchdown, so no faith in the silver bullets over there.
Yeah.
But, if we're going to talk about this game and break it down at all, that first quarter, it's a little bit sleepy. Had the safety for Ohio State on the opening drive offensively. Did give up a field goal. Looked like there was a little bit of miscommunication in the secondary a little bit. But after that, my goodness, that second quarter was as impressive as you can get. So what do you guys take out of that? Doss, what do you make of a game like this?
I take the start. It gives them something to work towards this week. Headed down to Nebraska, they're going to be on the road. It's going to be a crazy atmosphere, and that'll be a motivation for the guys to kind of make sure they come out the tunnel with all cylinders firing. I don't think that we did anything bad. It just bad field position, and Miami, Ohio made a great play. I mean, a strip. Fumble in the end zone to kick off a 2-point lead. If you were betting in Vegas, who had the odds on for that?
Right, exactly.
First score is going to to be Miami, Ohio, and it's going to be a safety.
Yeah. Right. 1,001 probably, something crazy. But I look forward to this week kicking off. I mean, the second quarter, as you stated, I mean, what more could you want? Everybody, all cylinders are rolling. Defense, sacks, strip, fumbles, interception. And the offense just kept putting up points. And, Justin Fields, here he goes again with 6 TDs.
Schlegel, when you're watching a game like that, and we talked all last week, it was going to be a tune-up. It's not a Big Ten game. There was a huge talent disparity. What are you watching when you see a game like that for Ohio State?
Well, I was watching the start of the game, right? I wanted to see how they came out. I wanted to see how focused they were. And some people could say it's sleepy, but it's a communication thing, right? Bad field position, gave them an opportunity. But then they righted the ship, right? So I was excited the fact that, they were down, and they haven't been. Mm-hmm. And why was that? And then to be able to rebound, come back, score kind of quickly, and then have a second quarter where they scored 42-0, right? And so you see that, and it was all phases were allowing them to do that. They were getting turnovers, and they were capitalizing on their turnovers. So ultimately at the end of the day, I wanted them to start out fast. That's the teaching point. What did we do wrong in this game to where we didn't execute at a high level from the jump? Because when you go on the road, you're going to have to play fast, and there might be an opportunity that you have to capitalize on. I remember in 2005 versus Texas, we had 3 turnovers inside the 25-yard line and came away with 3 points. When they go on the road or they play a Big Ten opponent that is worth their salt, you have to capitalize those things at the beginning of the game. You can't ooze into it. So that would be a teaching point. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I thought it was a great team win. I thought we finally got to see our backups play.
Yes.
And in this fourth type game, knowing what your depth looks like is as a coaching staff a great takeaway. So now you can start to pick and choose who's our fourth running back, right? Who are the defensive ends that we want to potentially burn a redshirt year on and have them on the roster? How does that look going into this Big Ten season? So those are the good takeaways, and they got to see that this week.
Yeah, Spencer, you got teed up perfectly there by Schlegel with those guys who made the most of the second half. You wrote about it at Lettermen Row. Guys who have been making the most of playing time. And a lot of them got in there, and you started with the wide receivers.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson and Jamison Williams both. I mean, what more can you ask for 2 freshmen? Jamison Williams makes 1 catch, turns it up the sidelines, and looks like Ted Ginn out there. I don't know what these guys
Boy,
had a better.
A little over the top praise with the Ted Ginn comparison.
I mean, it happened when he was getting recruited. The top end speed was like Ginn's, but those guys look really impressive, and it's going to be worth noting whether or not Ryan Day burns a red shirt on those guys or does not burn a red shirt on them because they look good enough to play against, you got teams like Maryland coming up. That could get ugly if things go south for Maryland. You got Rutgers coming up. That could get ugly. So, if those guys are going to play the rest of the season, they're not going to have a red shirt, and those decisions have to come this week.
That play that Garrett Wilson made was one of the craziest catches I've seen. I mean, I've been high on this guy. I went down to Texas to do a story on him last year.
Okay.
Saw him.
You've been high on him every week.
I've watched him play
week.
twice in high school, and he was the most dominant player in good competition in Texas. It just blew my mind. I went to do a story on Matthew Baldwin first. This is a long story. Way to get to it here. Okay? Baldwin gets hurt on the first play of his state championship game. Garrett Wilson, as a junior, just drags them back in. He did everything. Offense, defense, special teams, returning kicks. The guy is a special football player. And so Brian Hartline had tried to say, hey, tap the brakes a little bit. This kid's got a lot to learn. And through 4 games, he does. He's not a finished product. But what you can see him do athletically, the catches he's made, the 2 touchdowns, one against Cincinnati, the one on Saturday, you can see that this guy's gifted. Am I wrong on this? Can you guys see it in somebody this early?
You see the potential's there. I mean, all the attributes, the talent, the focus. I mean, to be a freshman, to be in that kind of situation where, those 50-50 balls, and he's come up with 2 nice big plays for us. You can see that coming down the stretch. He probably won't be one of those guys who will get red-shirted. He'll be probably a special teams contributor. His punt return, there was a nice return for us.
52 yards.
Yeah. So, I mean, he has the talent to be on the field. It just matters how do you sprinkle him in, how do you make him comfortable in the system, and continue to build that momentum as he progresses.
Yeah, I definitely think you're going to start seeing him more on, potentially as a gunner. I don't know what – he's going to have to find a fit. I definitely think he adds a different dynamic in our return game.
Yes.
So they can automatically see – I mean, he gave like a little stutter step and still got another 15 yards. He made guys miss. That's something that will add value because field position is a premium in Big Ten play. So he's definitely going to have to add value there. And then I think he has enough skill – he has a skill set to – again, we don't know what it looks like. And in a game like this, the other best thing about this game was that everybody came out healthy. And guys that needed to be held out, they were held out so they can get ready for Big Ten versus Nebraska. So potentially down the road, somebody gets hurt, somebody's nicked up, boom, you have another guy that's right there that's ready to see the field. But he has to go show it on special teams first, which is what we've seen from Chris Olave. And how you practice, how you play. Chris Olave has been a great example in that room from a special teams perspective, and then he goes out and he capitalizes it when he's on the field on offense. So I think that's a great kind of bridge for Garrett Wilson moving forward.
Right. He can look at right in his room and see how I get on the field.
Exactly.
And Chris Olave has done that and shown him the way. And if you think about Garrett Wilson's frame, he has that, prototypical size right now. Yeah. So just another year from now, how much bigger this guy's going to be. I mean,
another year of coaching from Brian Hartline, another year of familiarity with Justin Fields. I mean, you can see how the sky might be the limit there. Spencer, just to close the book there, they ask us all the time, right? What's Demario McCall going to do? Well, Garrett Wilson topped his production on just 1 punt return. I'm struggling myself to see a great use for Demario McCall on this team right now. And maybe there's still tricks up Ryan Day's sleeve with wheel routes, jet sweeps, but it's hard right now because you got Garrett Wilson on the rise. You got the H-back, C.J. Saunders, probably going to be back on Saturday. I'm just having a hard time getting there with Demario right now.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson has to be on the field, right? I mean, we all agree that now that we've seen it in games, he has to be on the field, and who's the odd guy out? Well, it's not going to be Chris Olave. It's not going to be KJ Hill. Anybody else that goes in the slot, it's not going to be C.J. Saunders because you just elected him as a captain, and he's shown that he can do things when he gets back to healthy.
Right.
So it's got to be Demario McCall, and we saw a couple flashes from him early on in the season of the kick return game, but since then he's kind of just been a guy that I think he had 1 catch against Miami, and when you win by 71 and you only have 1 catch as a junior, that's not really a good sign. So Garrett Wilson getting on the field might mean some tough conversations with Demario McCall. You're right.
And I know when Beanie's in here, and maybe you guys can speak to this, that he loves the athleticism of Demario McCall. I think everybody who meets him knows that he's got a great personality. He's fun to be around. But it's just, I don't know. It's hard for me to just see how he fits in this offense.
It's so much, talent on this team. I mean, you recruit 4- and 5-star guys every year, and they actually are coming and committing. So when you have that kind of talent pool to pick from, it's going to be little inch here, a drop punt or a fumble. These little things separate guys. I mean, Master Teague obviously got put right back in after his fumble just to build his momentum because he's a big frame. We're going to need him him down the stretch. But ultimately, it's going to take little small odd plays here and there. And when they actually call your number, you have to produce. And that's to be the biggest thing for McCall is that if they give him a chance, he has to produce on those calls.
I tell my son this every time he steps on the field, and is every time you play, right there in fall ball baseball, every time you play, you are being evaluated.
100%.
You know? And so you have to separate yourself in the game of baseball. Can I play outfield at a high level? Can I play, he's a lefty, can I play first base? Can I pitch? And can I hit? If I add value there and I'm a good bat, guess what? You're never coming off the field.
Yes.
Right?
And
so
you can steal bases. If you're passing, you got speed like that.
So how is he – I think his next thing is how do I add value on special teams to potentially get some carries? Correct. And then when I get those – don't look for the home run ball, but just go out there and do my job and showcase my skill set, because they're going to come and they might come with a play that's supposed to be a 10-yard play. Well, you got to go get the 10-yard play, because then you have a guy like Still Chambers who's a freshman that comes in and gets 8 rushes for 60-something yards, right, and leads the team in rushing. So there's other guys scrambling for that, right? So where do I fit? You just got to go back and look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm just going to go as hard as I possibly can in practice. And then, I believe Benjamin Victor talked about it last week, it has to come out on game day when the lights are on and we're playing an opponent. And so he has to somehow transfer how he practices to the games, and when he gets there, he has to make some type of impact.
As you would say, I always say maximize the moment. Obviously do your job within the scheme. Don't come out of your body and try to do something extra, but maximize every moment that you get. And the film shows, and the coaches have to make decisions.
Well, to your point, Austin, you said, is it in wheel routes and is it in jet sweeps? Well, if the only thing you can do is wheel routes and jet sweeps, then defenses are going to know when this guy's on the field. It's kind of like Tate Martell last year. When he was on the field, they were running quarterback run. Yeah. If Demario McCall's on the field, defenses are going to know this guy's running a wheel route or a jet sweep. It's not very effective.
Or an angle, right? Know that. Yeah. So the more value that you add, the better. And I think that's what you're seeing from a Master Teague. They didn't just throw Master Teague back in there. They already had a really good snapshot of exactly who Master Teague was. That's why they put their oars there. That's kind of like just being politically correct, and saying we don't know, but we know. Yeah. And then when you go back out there, we believe that this guy can add a lot of value, and then he showed up and did it, right? Yep. So he answered that call. And there's a lot of guys like that, whether it's on the defensive line, whether it's that linebacker. Who's that fifth linebacker? Dallas had a great game this week. He had 5 tackles, 1.5 sacks, right? He definitely put himself up there in the conversation because, again, when you start to make these great runs, you make these great runs because you get that middle 80% of your team up into the top 10. Yep. And as that top 10 begins to get bigger, it gets to 20, it gets to 30, 50 guys like we had probably on the national championship team in 2014. That's how you have great teams, and that's how you have a lot of depth.
Yeah, so I was going to ask Schlegel about defense. And he just kicks it off right now. We're going to take a quick break right here, get a word from our sponsors. We're going to do a little bit more looking at the Silver Bullets. At the end of a hard week, it's great to sit down, take some time off, and watch some football. Game-winning touchdowns on 2-minute drives, running backs racing down the sidelines with no one to stop them. There's nothing like college football, and there's no better way to make the games even more exciting than to bet on them. So do the smart thing. Go to mybookie.ag. No one gives you more ways to win than they do. MyBookie's got the fastest payouts and better lines than any other sportsbook. Don't forget, where you're betting is just as important as who you're betting on, and mybookie.ag is the best in the business. It's where all my friends play, and it's where you should play too. Join now, and MyBookie will double your first deposit. Use promo code Lettermen Row to activate the offer. That's promo code Lettermen Row. Visit mybookie.ag today. You play, you win, you get paid. And we're back.
Wow. Wow.
Caught Schleg's eating again. Dawson's getting a little bit of food. Can't resist it here at Roosters, obviously.
No, it's amazing.
So, another game.
It's a fun casual joint, man.
Absolutely it is. And a fun casual conversation with my guys here, talking about Ohio State and the Silver Bullets. Another game, didn't allow a touchdown. Here comes the test, though. Nebraska, Adrian Martinez, a bunch of skill players. Wan'Dale Robinson, who Ohio State tried to recruit, just had a big game at Illinois. He's sort of that H-back, slot, running back, do-it-all guys. And if there's a test, right, Rondale Moore, Ohio State failed it last year. Can you pass it against Wan'Dale Robinson? What tells you they might be ready for this Nebraska offense.
Well, really, there's three guys. The guy that you mentioned, Martinez, and then Spielman.
Yep.
You know, and the fact, like, I again didn't get to watch the game versus Illinois. Like, you're kind of, like, following it and tracking it.
Yeah.
But they were down.
Yeah, I caught the end of it.
So that's an indictment, one on their defense versus Illinois that just got beat by Eastern Michigan the week before.
And
right?
they gave up 38 points to Illinois.
Exactly. So they won 42-38. And so they also had 661 yards of total offense to their 299. So it's like, what was it, right? And I don't really remember. They probably had turnovers. If you're going to have a game like that and a team that's close and you doubled their yard production plus, they probably had turnovers on offense. So, one, for the Silver Bullets this week, we won the turnover margin.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right? That has to carry over. Two, you're playing there. You have to affect the quarterback because, as we all know, last year they didn't have a backup. So you have to go affect Adrian Martinez, who was also their leading rusher and thrower. Cool. So if you take him out, not necessarily illegally or whatever, but you physically beat on that man the entire game, it's going to affect his passing.
Yes.
The good thing is you got the Predator and you got the entire D-line that is either second or now leading the country in sacks. They stop the run. They play the run hard. So then it's going to be on our secondary, which I feel very comfortable with.
I feel great. I mean, Akuda got his first career interception.
Yeah. It's hard to believe, right, that it took
that long. That's his first one.
Got that monkey off his back, but I think we're up to the challenge. I think Nebraska is actually the way that they can try to win, they have to throw the ball downfield. They won't be able to really run the ball and dominate us up front. I think our D-line will be prepared.
Yeah.
But if they want to affect us and put us on our heels, then they need to challenge us downfield and go for those 50-50 balls and give some of their receivers, their skilled guys, a chance to make a play. And then do they actually make the play against our Buckeye secondary, or do we step up to the challenge and make plays?
And that's where in this type of game, your eye control as a linebacker is going to be critical because they're going to be doing a run-pass option. And if I get sucked up to the line of scrimmage or I don't get enough depth in my zone coverage, that's when the little ball that's going to be behind the linebackers is going to be there.
Correct.
If the pressure can't get there, then my eye control as a linebacker, I have to get back in my zone to keep everything in front of me. If I get caught in that no man's land, which is somewhere between 8 to 12 yards, and I don't get back to 15, that's when those balls are going to happen, and that's going to move the sticks.
Yeah. It's interesting to look at these first 4 games, and the improvement is clear, and yet Jonathan Cooper hasn't played a game yet. Tyreek Smith has played 6 quarters, Spencer. Robert Landers sits out on Saturday.
Yep.
Probably precautionary. We don't know 100%, but I'm hearing that all 3 of those guys are going to be ready for Nebraska, so you've got a really good chance where the rushmen are elevated. They're even deeper. That helps the linebackers, helps the secondary, but we haven't even seen this team at its best yet, I don't believe.
Well, and Indiana tried to attack Ohio State deep, but what do you need for the deep ball? You need time in the pocket, or you need a good running ability outside the pocket. Well, Ohio State's too athletic for you to get outside the pocket on them for the most part, and Ohio State's too good in the middle for you to be able to have time in the pocket to deliver a deep ball, an accurate deep ball.
Yeah.
So where do you attack this defense once Jonathan Cooper comes back, once B.B. Landers comes back, once Tyreek Smith comes back? I don't know. Like I've been watching these games over again, trying to figure out, what could we see later on.
I like
this
that, doing your homework.
Yeah.
But like, where do you get these guys? Like, where do you find points? Because you're not getting it in the inside run game. Because Devon Hamilton has shown. I mean, he might be a first-team All-Big Ten guy by the end of the season. We're barely even talking about it.
I think Nebraska's going to come with a little bit of misdirections. We know they're heavy on the RPO. They're going to have a couple of wrinkles here and there, maybe a flea flicker or double reverse pass, something where they want to see if we're undisciplined and have a breakdown. But ultimately, I just can't see them lining up us going, hey, we're going to look you right in the face and we're going to punch you right in the face and we're going to give you our best shot, because they know if we come out the locker room like we're supposed to, then we'll be well prepared for that.
Yeah, what's the old cliche there, Schlegel? If you need trick plays to win, you've already lost.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, I just say the whole analogy I know is win if you can, cheat if you must, but always win.
Right.
Right? So that kind of falls in line with that. But I would say this, though. The one area where I think they could hurt you is that with our pass rush, creating seams in lanes for Martinez to escape the pocket. And then whether we're playing man, which was our problem in the past, we played so much man that it was a one-on-one tackle in open space. Playing more zone, you have other guys that are able to rally the ball.
Converge,
however, on a 3rd and 7, him being able to keep the drive alive with his feet, because there's some vertical lanes in there that he can escape through will be something that they have to have for him.
Well, and I think the biggest thing about this game on defense is going to be Baron Browning and Malik Harrison. If they can be at the second level and be able, when Martinez does get out of the pocket and create these seams from the pass rush, if Malik Harrison and Baron Browning can keep him in check and keep him, 5 yards, not let him get 15 yards on 2nd and 10, in the quarterback scramble, that's when Ohio State's going to have success to be able to get off the field.
It also, Schlegel, feels like a game where, okay, the bullet, this is where you need it. The Brendan White version, not the Pete Warner version. We talked about that before, but if you're going to spread it out, you think you want a little bit more of that defensive back and his speed out there. Am I wrong?
Yeah, well, it's going to be – you know what?
That was a team that Brendan actually came in and filled it in for us big last year. So, they'll be able to watch that tape.
I think it's going to be one of those ones where we're going to actually see the fit and what the bullet looks like.
Yeah.
And the real key, too, is we need to take away – 70% of their playbook by winning 1st and 2nd down.
Correct.
Because once you get 3rd and 6, that's 70% of your playbook's out.
Sure.
And you know what they do in that 3rd and medium, 3rd and long. So, and again, we don't know. Pete has done a phenomenal job covering a variety of different guys. And you even saw him draw back at safety, which he was probably playing the Mike position running Tampa too. So he has a lot of different skill sets. So, yes, this game will be a good indication of what that bullet position looks like.
All right, you're going to take one more quick break here for a word from our partners and friends and sponsors. We'll be back.
Roosters.
I'm sure that when we come back, these guys are going to be eating.
Hey, Buckeye fans, as the official wing sponsor of your Ohio State Buckeyes, Roosters is giving away 12 trips for 2 to this year's Buckeye Bowl game. Each trip comes complete with airfare, hotel, gift bag, and 2 lower-level tickets. One bowl prize winner chosen each week, along with other cool Roosters weekly prizes. So register every week at your favorite Roosters or at roosterswings.com. Roosters, a fun, casual joint and the official wing sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Official contest rules at roosterswings.com.
All right, welcome back to Lettermen Live, brought to you by Roosters. Closing it down. Before we talk about a little bit more, obviously, about Ohio State and Nebraska, I know this really pained you guys on Saturday to see your old rivals struggle at Wisconsin. That had to be tough for you. I know, Schlegel, you're clutching that hard. You got to feel bad for what happened in Ann Arbor, right?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
I personally don't feel bad at all. We got to play Wisconsin, so, you want to see, those two get their best shots, and it looked like Michigan shot all their guns, and that's what they got, 14 points. So, you would like it to be a better showing overall. Maybe it came down to the end, but Wisconsin handedly dominated up front. Their running game, definitely showed that we can actually run the ball against that Michigan defense that we've so-called heard about all year thus far. And the preseason rankings and the hype is, in the toilet right now. So at this point, the motivation for that team up north is, hey, let's just try to win today. Let's just win on Monday when we go to practice. Can we just win today?
Right.
And then build on that. They got to get some momentum. They got some gut checking they got to do. And all the hype, the preseason hype and all these things are out the window. Like, can we just get through today?
Wait, so you actually wanted it to be closer, Doss? Is that what I heard you say?
I would have loved to see a more,
you want them to be
more
competitive.
More competitive game.
Schlegel, did you feel that way?
I really didn't care. I just wanted to see good football, from our conference.
Correct.
Yeah.
Coming off of a week where we had a lot of guys in our conference lose to non-conference games, especially inferior opponents. So I wanted a really good showing on a noon game of 2 of the powerhouse brands in our conference have a really good competitive game.
Right.
You didn't see that. They came out, it was 28-0. And they battled back a little bit, but then they took the field at the end, and it was kind of like demoralizing for them the way they walked on the field that I noticed when I was watching it before the Ohio State game. So that kind of affected me, and I also know a lot of guys in that staff that have a really good makeup of what they're trying to do there, and you just didn't see that. You saw a Wisconsin team that is for real rushing the football because they actually have a passing game so that if you do load the box, they can beat you with the pass. But then for that team up north, it really is not an indication, but it's really just par for the course, right? They haven't beat anybody when they've been a dog, right? Coach Harbaugh hasn't beat anybody since he's a dog since 2007 when he was at Stanford beating USC. Yeah. So in the big critical games that you should win, they don't. And in order to meet the challenge, they haven't.
Right.
And so that's just makes you go back to look at the fundamental culture and identity of a program. And now I actually think that he is on a little bit of the hot seat because you're 0-4 versus us. You haven't produced in big games. You haven't won any Big Ten championships. And what is the identity and makeup of this huge brand in college football, which is why they had the hype to begin with.
Right. And I think that it's wild to me, though, Schlegs, because I cover Ohio State, and I have for a long time. Not my entire career, but I know what this fan base expects. I know what the administration expects, and I know that just down the road from where we are right now, they want 100,000 people in that stadium every week. So if all those things that you just said applied to Ohio State, and they had lost 62-39 in that rivalry last year, would that patience have been extended to the head coach of the Buckeyes? I don't think so. And that's why it blows my mind that Harbaugh seems to just operate with this impunity that they have faith that it's going to turn around at some point, and I don't know what he's done to validate that. Hiring Josh Gaddis off of a 20-minute phone conversation when he wasn't even going to be the offensive coordinator at Alabama is a horrible decision, and they are not a good offensive team. He didn't fix it. Okay? They've had those problems for 4 years now. It's not fixed. Does he get to just go on forever? You say he's kind of on the hot seat? In my mind, I'm shocked that he wasn't already there.
Well, and defense is his calling card, and the defense looked horrible. I mean, if you were coming off of the Army game and you had just faced an Army team that runs the ball like crazy on you, and you're banged up, okay, if you give up 200 rushing yards, but you had a bye week to prepare for this Wisconsin team. A Wisconsin team that for the last 15 years has lined up with 7 offensive linemen and rammed it down your throat.
Right.
What did you think was going to happen? And what's still what happened? They did whatever they wanted. They pushed Michigan around, and that's off of a bye. He's a losing record off the bye. He's 14-11 on the road. That's not even against, ranked teams. That's just 14-11 on the road. So there's something in the coaching that's not getting these guys prepared off the bye, and it's not getting these guys focused enough to win on the road the way Ohio State does, the way even Penn State does in this conference.
Well, I think the one thing that he said it was that we got outplayed and outcoached. Emphasis on the outcoached. And he got outcoached here. And the other thing with coaching, and you look at what Ryan Day was able to do, and let's praise him a little bit. He didn't bring him solely because they were in Michigan. He brought him because of the relationships and how he thought they could coach. Mm-hmm. And then you bring in Jeff Hafley, who's completely different. Yep. They bring it in, and now they have collaboration and elite communication, which allows our defense to play at a speed of which we haven't seen here since Fickle left.
Right.
So in 3 years, our defense dramatically changed overnight with the same guys. That's a coaching issue. If you bring in a guy to somehow revamp this, my question is he holding that coordinator back because he still wants to have his thumbprint on it, right? Was there somebody else better that he potentially could have hired? Sure. And maybe there wasn't. That's it. We don't know his second best option. Maybe this was his second best option. And the other thing about why I think that Michigan is allowing him to stay so long, they made the ultimate mistake in pushing out Lloyd Carr. They had success. They had a program. They had consistency, and they ran him out of town because they thought they were bigger and better than they were. Right. And who in this day and age of college football, who are you going to go get that can revamp that? A lot of the times, are you going to go – Urban Meyer came here with a track record. Well, he's not going there, okay? Right. That's one. 2, it's difficult to recruit there because you're there. It's a lot easier to recruit Ohio, right? Because you're centrally located. You can still pull people in from all different areas. And so who are you going to go get to replace them, right? It's really comes down to me about coaching, his culture, who is doing the communicating there to where everybody is on the same page, because when you don't look consistent like they've been on offense, and I'm only looking at offense, right, a change needs to be addressed. And 1, I think they need to start McCaffrey. And 2, I think somehow the coaches and the staff got to get on the same page.
And just to piggyback that, like you said, as far as his post on the program, is it something that he's missing that, through all of his experiences, he's overthinking it and he's not allowing his staff to put their footprint on the program or make those kind of tough decisions. So if it's a 3rd and 15 and he goes, I want this particular play called, when someone else may have, more innovative play, and he's not allowing that, that to happen within the coaching staff.
I'd be surprised if anyone watching Lettermen Live wants Michigan to get it corrected. But
Yeah, no doubt, man. Whatever. Go
we're giving
Bucks.
those tips.
Go Bucks, yeah. Nuggets.
So Saturday night in Lincoln, Nebraska, Lettermen Row will be there for full coverage.
I see you. Let's
college
go.
game day. You gonna be there? College
Be out there
game
with a
day?
sign.
Hanging out.
The LR.
I probably will not be on game day. Well, we'll make the young guy go out bright and
Put
early
the sign up.
to hang out for game day. I've been to
Put a
game day. I don't need
flag.
to do it again. I'm too old for that at this point. So we've talked a little bit about it, guys, but let's get to that prediction part of Lettermen
You
Live
predict
here.
on Mondays, man. That's so difficult.
We can edit it in later.
Yeah, no doubt.
Update it. I think Spencer's pointed out that people have noticed that sometimes my predictions on Monday don't match what I write on Saturday. So
Right.
Okay.
I apologize
Oh, yeah, fair
for
enough.
that.
So if you have that immunity, let's go.
Right.
So,
call him out.
There you go.
You can keep it general then if you don't want it. But your score predictions have been so accurate anyway.
They have been.
It hasn't mattered. Justin Fields, I'm expecting that Nebraska will not have any ability to slow him down. He's got 19 touchdowns in 4 games, and I've watched those black shirts have not. If the Silver Bullets didn't live up to their moniker the last 2 years, the black shirts haven't in a decade. They cannot play defense. I'm expecting a high-scoring game. I'm just going to take that first shot for you guys since I correct mine later. I think Ohio State's going to win this one easily. I think it'll be somewhere in the ballpark of like 45-14.
Well,
You suck. I
always-
was just saying.
I was thinking
You
the
need me
same
to go
thing.
now?
I don't want to bat
I'ma
last
go
this
there.
week.
I'm
No,
gonna
fine,
go.
bump that.
Hey,
I ain't predicting that.
if Illinois can score 38 points, I can see Ohio State at least putting up 21 better. So
All right.
I'm like, hey, let's go 55, 13. They
What was
either-
the score the last time they were there when they beat the brakes off them?
56-14.
Yeah.
There you go.
I like that one.
Yeah.
Repeat.
Yep.
All right, I've got 5.
What'd you pick?
I put 55-13.
Okay.
I've got 5 touchdowns and 3 field goals. I don't think they get stopped very often, and if
Well, that's
they
a lot
do,
of points for Nebraska,
if they-
Spencer.
If they do, it'll still come in form of field goal. So I've got 44-20, Ohio State.
All right.
Hey, if they put up 20 points against our defense, I can't see 20 points. I just
They
can't
could.
see it.
I can see it because they have the guy. They have J.D.
have a big-
Spielman, who's been there for what seems like 10 years. I mean, he's had such a long career. They've got Wan'Dale Robinson, who maybe Ohio State's entire defense is revamped to stop guys like that.
Yeah.
But he's a playmaker, and I think Adrian Martinez is a little better than we're giving him credit for. He
Yeah,
was hurt a
he's
lot of the year
athletic.
last year.
Yeah.
I'm going to give them 20 points because, maybe it happens somewhere weird, but I think it's 44-20.
Okay.
Okay. I can see that.
If
maybe
I'm
late
wrong,
in the
you can
game.
make fun of me
if
next
it's
week.
56 and maybe late in the game they're putting their twos and they get
Right.
their scores because they're not going to take their ones out.
Yeah.
I can see them getting 20 potentially.
All right. Well, there it is. Spencer Holbrook making his debut. Anthony Schlegel hanging out on a Monday. Mike Doss, Lettermen Live, brought to you by Roosters. Great stuff. All week long, we're going to have your coverage at lettermenrow.com. You know where to find us. Ohio State, Nebraska, Saturday night. We will see you there.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe below to get the latest videos from Lettermen Row.
We got Lettermen Live. We've got the practice report. We got rapid reaction. Hey, and we got Buck IQ with Zach Bourne.
For sure, we got recruiting breakdowns with Berm. We got whatever you need. Ohio State football and Ohio State athletics, we've got you covered here at Lettermen Row.